the discussion lounge, man. It's been crazy. We've been getting some views. I just posted my reaction to Wanda. Actually, I posted it like the night after that it happened, but it got copyright stricken, so we had to dispute that, and it took a couple days to be up. But my reaction to WandaVision episode 8 is up. My conversation with Hector that we had about WandaVision and the future of MCU and our predictions for the finale, that is up, so you guys can go watch. And today we have a very special guest with us here, my buddy, my good pal, and actually I don't know if this title is still 100% true, but the youngest mayor to ever mayor in all mayors of all life. The ex-mayor of the city of Cudahy, someone who I grew up with, went to school with, a guy that I'll vouch for 100%. Cristian Markovich is here with us. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you?
Awesome. We are good. Hector, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I got my coffee.
Hey. And Gio has a new look on the background. He has a nice little background going, nice and neat. He's got a... do you know how to finish that Rubik's Cube that you have there, or is just that's as far as you got?
I can get to this level without looking anything up, so I can do this by heart. But the last two, I gotta look something up to. I don't remember the algorithms, but that's as far as I can get.
Okay, yeah. I've never been able to solve a Rubik's Cube. I don't know if I ever will. It's kind of one of those things I never learned, like how to play Minesweeper. I never learned how to play Minesweeper. So
yeah, I just click around.
It's not too bad.
I just click, dead. I tried Sudoku, and then I think the second puzzle I did, I did something wrong, and I'm like, I'm not gonna go all the way back to correct this fucking error. I'm good. I started doing something else. But yeah. Guys, we got a lot of stuff to cover. We got some fun stuff. We got some serial stuff.
Some very serial stuff.
Yeah.
Crunchy cereal stuff.
Crunchy cereal stuff. So we're going to start with the crunchiest. The little fun topic that is something I think I heard on the radio, and then it ended up being something that everyone kind of was talking about for a little bit. And this is the Miss Poindexter. So this is who had opened up an OnlyFans account. She just was taking kind of racy pictures, not even nude pictures, just pictures of her in like schoolgirl outfits or whatever. From what I heard, apparently she was just trying to spice things up with her and her husband. I don't know if it was because they needed money. I don't think so. So they find out in the school, somebody finds out, parents start to complain, and what happened was she had I believe she had 2 kids in the school at that time, and they ended up expelling her kids for her having an OnlyFans account, basically. I want to kick it off to our guest. Let's see what he has to say about this issue, Chris.
Alrighty, I wasn't expecting to go first. I think basically whatever mom and dad do in their own personal private life, even though if it does end up on the internet or whatever, and this is probably just paid content, right? So you have to spend actual money to see whatever content she posted. So it wasn't it was something that was readily available to the general public. So someone had to have spent money to see what this content was to be able to bring this forward. From what I guess, it shouldn't have affected the kids, because who knows how old these kids are. It sounds like they're in elementary school, so they could probably be in 3rd or 4th grade. And to have someone get kicked out of school, enroll them in another school, and this could potentially affect them, moving forward. Mm-hmm. Who knows if another elementary school will take them, or if a private school will take them. Probably not, depending upon the private school, probably. But who knows? These kids are probably going to have to get homeschooled after they were socialized in their school. They had made friends. And if it's a regular elementary school, you probably have been going to school with the same group of kids, for 2 or 3 years now. So I think it's a really crummy situation for the kids, and more or less slut shames the mom for the crime of taking photographs. So that's what I think about that.
Let me swing it over to Hector. Hector, what do you think?
Okay, so I want to throw out a few small details that help, I guess, my position in all this. I do know that the school was a private institution. It's actually a Catholic school, right? So it is a religious school, and they have religious values, right, on top of their regular, code of conduct and all that stuff that they expect their students and their parents to kind of follow. Okay, so with that said, you have the school who found out and made the decision to kick the students out. And now the question is it fair that the kids have to, in a sense, suffer for their parents' actions? To me, this is a very sensitive case, and it's not entirely clear cut. And when I say it's sensitive, is because you're dealing with the education and future of 3 children. I think it was, I have 3 children down in my notes, so it was 3 kids. So you're kind of dealing with, the future of their education, and they did nothing wrong. Like Chris was saying, right? Like, how can we punish the kids if it was the parents who actually kind of did the wrong in the eyes of the school? The kids were entirely unaware of the operation their parents were involved in. Well, now they know, and they will have to deal with that in the future. At any rate, if I had to take a side, I will side with the school, because it's a Catholic school, like I said, so they have religious values that they expect their faculty and students, and their parents to act on. The school principal wrote a letter to the parents explaining their decision, saying more or less what I just said. So the school is a private institution. It could drop students / refuse service for any reason. It doesn't have to be extreme like this case. However, I do question the school's swift decision-making on this matter. It seems like the school didn't bother to extend forgiveness. The school was facing pressure from other parents. I think someone probably like some, like a parent from, the school ended up on this webpage probably, and then realized it, and then, called her out on it or something. Who knows what happened. But she got discovered. So the school was facing pressure from the other parents. So I think that's why things played out the way they did. So on one end, you have a private institution being pressured by members to remove these parents and their children from the school. And on the other end, you have that very institution unwilling to forgive and unwilling to speak to the parents or come to some sort of agreement, right? It seems like nobody was willing to practice their own religious values. In the Bible, Matthew 6:14 basically says that you must forgive the sins of others in order for God to forgive yours. Again,
I don't want to interrupt you, but who did was follow the rules was apparently the dads, because a bunch of the dads from the people of the kids of that school already knew that she had an OnlyFans, and it wasn't until the mothers found out that they started complaining and writing to the school. So all the dads were cool with it.
Oh, this is crunchy for sure, man. Damn.
Yeah, I'm reading the article right now, and On top of that, like, they emailed her telling her, like, hey, your kids have been expelled. Like, yo, come on, can you like call me into the school and we can talk about it at the very least? Like, they emailed her like, hey, your kids don't go to school here anymore. Find somewhere else for them to go. Like, oh, and tomorrow's Monday, so I guess figure out what you're gonna do with them. Like, that's kind of messed up. And the only silver lining is that, if you want to finish, and then we'll get Gio in. I don't want to.
So, well, basically what I'm saying is I'm not questioning anyone's fate here. Okay. I can't find myself to do that. But I am questioning the lack of consideration. So I side with the school as a private institution to make a decision that they see fit, right? But I'll go against their inability to practice their own religious values, which is forgiveness. So I don't know if that makes any sense, how I could be for like the aspect of like the business part, because it is, again, a private institution. Parents pay, their kids get to go, but they're also able to say, you know what, we don't want you here. Here's your money. Take it somewhere else, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like the same as like the whole Mandalorian situation, right? Where it's like, hey
Yeah.
man, like we could fire you because we're a private company, but some people think that it's hypocritical, right? So yeah, you can call out. I think you can call out the hypocrisy and still be like, yeah, they're allowed to do what they did because they're like you said, they're a private institution. Gio, I maybe you have a lot to say about this.
Not so much like what Hector was saying. I agree a lot with. Like he kind of took a lot of the things I was going to say, but just
Not
the
bad.
no, not like that. But the religious part, right? I wanted to hammer in because we didn't really bring it up in the initial introduction that it is a Catholic institution,
Right.
and although Catholic or Christianity usually preaches like forgiveness, like Hector said, these religious institutions, especially the Catholic Church, has traditionally been like a very conservative institution, like filled with homophobia, misogyny, like anti-science, and so their like reactionary nature kind of makes sense to me, and but then again, it's a private institution, so I'll defend their right to do whatever it is they want to do with with their clients and all that.
Yeah, I guess I agree with all that too. Just the fact that the lack of consideration for not thinking about where those kids are gonna go to school on Monday. Like, there's no way that you're gonna be able to find a school or apply for a new school like mid semester or whatever's going on. So they kind of just lose that entire that whole year that they were already going to school because they got expelled. Like, this makes no sense. The action makes no sense, right? At what point do you kind of like please the people who are complaining versus like a person being able to do whatever they want in private? And from what I see, those pictures, you can post those pictures on Instagram. I've seen worse on Instagram. Like, she's always wearing like an outfit, like she's not showing anything R-rated or anything like that. So yeah, she could have easily had an Instagram account with racy pictures, and if they would have found it, what, now you can't have an Instagram account like with pictures that that you're proud of, like you want to show your body or whatever, or like they're for your husband, or you just have an IG because you want to, because fuck you, right? Like, I should be able to do whatever. Yeah, I don't get it, and I guess, like I said, like the dads were cool with it, and they were able to shut their mouths, and they knew that that she had an account, and they were like, it's not a problem with me. Like, right. So it's the thing about they're just hating. I think it's just why like, even as a woman that has kids right there that go to that school, you're putting out another person's kids. Like, that's literally what you did. So yeah, dude, that's where like religious people that like that, not that they're all like that, but when you get these people who are so hypocritical or just blindsided by like their hate, right? They're like, oh, this woman, fuck this woman, she's fucking hot, and I don't like that shit. And like, so I'm gonna write to the school and be like, hey, one of these kids' mom, that bitch is hot, and we can't have it. What? Like, as a fucking school, like, how are you not like, hey, Dick, go do something else. Go out with your husband. Like, go on a date. Like, I don't know, fucking do something other than fucking hate on what somebody else is fucking doing. WandaVision is dope as fuck, dude. Turn on Disney Plus and fucking get WandaVision going. Bro, you'll have a good fucking time. Instead of complaining about what the fuck some hot fucking girl, like, woman is doing with her OnlyFans account. Like, that shit makes no sense to me.
I think what could also be is if the kids don't go to that school anymore, there's zero chance of her showing up, the mom showing up to school events.
So what is it's like it's gonna be a thing, because it was never a thing, right? Like, it
wasn't a thing until someone made it a thing.
But until the minute someone makes it a thing,
until someone made it a thing. Now they're like, oh my god, this lady who we saw, at the raffle or at the cakewalk or at back to school night was doing this the entire time. I don't want my children around people like that. I think it might have been from that lens.
Hector, you're mute.
You're muted, Hector. I see you doing stuff.
There. Or what if the school was like what Alan was saying? We just don't care too much about that. That's her business. But because a lot of other parents were pressuring the school, maybe they saw it as like, damn, we're about to lose a whole bunch of business for one couple. So we rather throw them out and lose their money and keep the rest happy, as opposed to like maybe taking the chance and everyone else leaving, and now you're left with, less students in the institution, so less money to fund your institution. Maybe they see it. Maybe it was a business decision.
True.
But what if they defend the mom, and then those people leave, but they attract a whole lot of other religious people who thought it was really cool that they supported the family?
That would not be a wise business decision. Like, you gotta flip over your clients like that quickly. I don't know if that would work.
Hey, didn't that happen with Kaepernick? It was the same fucking thing. Exactly.
It took like a year, though.
No, but bro, no. Nike was all in on that shit as soon as they saw that they could profit off of it. And they were like, fuck it, we're going to lose a bunch of conservatives, but we're going to make a fuck ton of money off this.
But that's Nike and Kaepernick, and there's like way more like visibility about that. But basically, I was going to say that basically what happened is she got canceled, right? Her coworkers or her like group decided that they didn't want anything to do with her, and so they expelled her, just like what happened with the Mandalorian chick. But this is like the other side of it.
Yeah. So that's why I was saying, the only real issue I had was like, dude, like the kids, not being able to go to school like that very next fucking day because they emailed her on Sunday. Bullshit. At least let them finish off the year, or be like, hey, they're not gonna be able to come here. We'll give you 2 weeks. I don't know, something, other than like an instant like expulsion.
I also read that the mom fears that she might even be kicked out. They might even be kicked out of the whole like Catholic archdiocese. So
really?
it just doesn't extend, to just the school, but the whole Catholic religion in general. So that's like, now we're dealing with something bigger here, like how it's just like it keeps coming for them, and I think that's already too much. I get the fact, or I get the, if they wanted to kick her out from the school, that's fine. But if another institution wants to pick them up, I don't see anything wrong with that, because I know for a fact that, if you go into 10 different churches, they're all going to have different values. I know that for a fact. And they're going to have different types of people within that church. That's why when you pick a church, right, you pick a church that resonates with you.
You check out because you're kind of like, you're checking out the community.
Yes. Right. Exactly. So you have to be, you have to let that be as well. They have to have that right to be able to check out, other schools and see. And if that school picks them up, then so be it.
The only good thing that I saw like in this article was that since the story got out, she made like $100,000 on her OnlyFans account. So she'll probably be making more than that. So yeah, I guess she'll be able to put her kids in private school. I don't know, a nice private school. Where they don't care if she has an OnlyFans account. All right, man. So we got another interesting story here, and it kind of ties into something we were talking about. I believe like last week we were talking about the $15 minimum wage, and we kind of like mentioned McDonald's here and there because in their other parts of the country, McDonald's pays their workers like $18.25, and that's starting pay. So now we see this story from Vice News, and what McDonald's is doing now is they are using tech, right, to kind of find out who are these people that are organizing for Fight for 15, and I guess they're either they're countering their moves and where they're going to protest and where they're going to organize. They're trying to just basically shut the whole thing down. This to me was like super savage. I thought it was pretty much disgusting, right? Like to have this huge corporation that makes billions of dollars a year, trying to shut down a movement that's just trying to make enough money to live, right? It's super sad. And this just reminds me of I don't know why, like the first thing I thought was like Edward Snowden, right? Like just the technology that we have to fucking spy on people, so much so that they can counterattack organizers, protesters, and like social justice movements like this is just super sketch, right? And I don't think it should be happening at all. Gio, you're our big techie guy. What do you think?
All right. So the United States claims to stand for liberty and democracy, right? But as soon as you enter the workplace, you have to submit yourself to the dictatorship, right? That's true in any workplace. And the fact that we assume that or are just easily like give into that, I think that's problematic. But the fight for 15, right, is culminating right now as we speak, right? As we're recording this, the Senate is voting on whether on the COVID relief bill, and the $15 provision, minimum wage provision, is on there. And so this fight has been going on for like years now, and it's culminating in this right now. And so I don't know what's going to happen, and if it fails, then we have to keep pushing for it. But basically, yeah, we have record profits, record corporate profits, and record inequality in the United States. And you can say that it's leading to the instability of the country, both economically and socially. And if we're going to rectify this, we need to have some sort of relief, right? And in the form of wage uplift. And the fact that McDonald's is doing this, I'm not that surprised by it. They're a corporation. They're trying to maximize profits, and they're going to do everything they can to make sure that they are getting as much money in and as little money out.
Right. Chris, I'm curious what you have to say, since you have you have experience in working for for the city as mayor, and kind of being an organizer and stuff like that. What do you think?
I think that anyone spying on anyone or tracking anyone is wrong. You know what I mean? And the fact that McDonald's has sort of its own like COINTELPRO going on to keep track of employees who may be like problematic, it's just crazy. Like when you sent me this article to check out, I was completely blown away that McDonald's has this kind of power behind it.
Resources, right?
Yeah, like these crazy resources and this whole, I'm going to call it like a branch of its organization to keep track of people who want to push for the $15 minimum wage, but they're also keeping track of people that want to unionize as well. Like right now, McDonald's is a company that does not have unionized labor, and this is probably why. Like they want to be able to have folks that aren't going to be stirring the pot and causing trouble. I saw this other story that kind of made me think of this. There's a lady who works for McDonald's who just celebrated her 100th birthday, who's an employee and still works at McDonald's every single day. And her justification behind that was, I like to go to work. I like to have a paycheck. I'm like, yeah, but if you've been working for McDonald's for all these decades, you should just be chilling off of this McDonald's pension, this McPension that they should be paying you. So I think that, I think that any worker anywhere should be paid what they're worth.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have to be worried about trying to survive in the 21st century, and I'm lucky to be in a position where I could flick on a light and have internet and have a roof over my head and not be stressed out about that. There are millions of other people that aren't that lucky, and those people are folks that are trying to push for this $15 minimum to try to get people to survive. So that's what, there's just so many other things going on. And I think that given the fact that when you pull up to McDonald's, it tells you how many billions of burgers they've sold over the past, several years.
Mm-hmm.
They should, at the very least, they should be able to give their employees a living wage.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Hector, you're the only one who hasn't chimed in. What do you think?
Yeah, so just the fact that McDonald's is buying on anyone is a clear indication that they're threatened. Clear indication, right? Or it could be that they've been spying and they just got caught up now. Either way, they're threatened and they just don't want, they want something to go their way. Like Chris was saying, they don't have a union, right? And they fear that this might, this push for $15 might make people think, well, what else can we get from Mickey D's, right? Aside from a, Big Mac and crispy chicken nuggets, like let's get something better. So yeah, clear indication that they're threatened. I'm just surprised. By the way, I've worked at McDonald's, and this was back when I was 20 years old. I worked there for 1 month, and just the vibe at working at McDonald's, it just seemed like someone was spying on me, man. It's just this creepy, like eerie feeling. Like literally, like they make everything, bro. Like they make their own soap, right? They make their own toilet paper. They make their own paint. Like they just brand everything that's in there. They don't outsource for any of their products. Maybe I'm lying. Maybe they do, but for the most part, like they have a ton of money is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And they're threatened. Okay. I don't know what else to say about that. I'm trying not to speculate too much. Right. But I want to put that out there. Right. So I do hope that it goes well for the people. I'm for the people. We said this in the last podcast or the first podcast. It was PDP, pay the people.
Pay the people.
Right? Pay the people. That little clown can fight all he wants, but I think he's gonna catch a nail for the first time. And when you catch the nail for the first time, it stings. You don't like it. So I think they just want to keep that from happening.
Yeah, and for sure they can do it, right? Because they do it in other countries, like I said earlier, right? So, in Denmark, I think Denmark and Sweden, every job is unionized, right? So they fight for every dollar, that they get, as far as the unions go there. But yeah, the fact that they can't unionize here in the United States is ridiculous, right? Like every job should have one now, and that's like something that I've seen. Like I've had a lot of jobs, man. I've done a lot of crazy jobs in my life, right? And there's just people that are like that. Dude, I've never been like, oh damn, like I'm not gonna be able to find a job. Like you're stupid. There's people out there with 2 to 3 jobs. If you can't find one job, you're stupid, right? That's just on you. So I've seen these people that are like, no, I can't bite the hand that feeds me. Like, like this kind of like mentality that I can't go anywhere else, or I can't do anything better. So I'm gonna allow this job to disrespect me for fucking $10 an hour, $11 an hour, $12 an hour. Like, there's no fucking way, dude. I've never been disrespected. Like, as soon as I start feeling disrespected at a job, I make it known. Like, I make it verbally known to whoever's doing it or the way that they're doing it. And I'm like, yo, I work hard here, and like I feel like I'm being dissed. And if nothing's done about it, like within a week, I'm out. That's really how it's always been with me. I'm fucking out. And I've never had a problem finding another job. Like, So I think people need to just change like their mentality on like their work ethic and valuing themselves over, fighting over scraps.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna move on to something that Hector brought to my attention, and we all kind of checked it out. And it was a story about EDD benefits, right? So apparently, the EDD benefits that went out, some people are having to pay up to $3,000 in taxes for them because they forgot to withhold the taxes on them. So yeah, just another way that the incompetent government fucks the regular everyday person. I think this is just just ridiculous, right? Like, not only are people struggling so hard, we're still waiting on that stimmy that Biden promised us on day one. We barely got anything from Trump. We went almost 10 months probably, and we only got what was it, like 18 hundo probably. That's some people, that's like a month of rent, right? So I don't know how they thought we were gonna survive off of that. So on top of that, this story hits, right? So yeah, Hector, since you're the one who brought this up, what do you think?
Yeah. So, okay, I want to start just by like laying down some facts about how all this, came to be. So, okay, unemployment benefit money is considered by the IRS as taxable income. Here in the state of California, you may choose to have taxes withheld from your weekly benefit pay. The problem with this is that if you choose to have taxes withheld, then the Employment Development Department will only subtract from your normal weekly amount and not the extra federal aid that many are receiving. So you have your regular pay, right, that you are entitled to, right, for not having a job at the moment. And then the supplemental help, that part never gets touched or taxed, or California EDD never asked the individuals if they want that taxed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I know someone who received over $20,000 in unemployment benefits last year and now has to pay roughly $2,000 to the IRS. Now I know what some insensitive people might be thinking. I know that some think that $2,000 is not that much money, right? That is doable as a tax bill, and therefore it shouldn't be a huge burden on the taxpayer. However, the truth is that most people live paycheck to paycheck, like you were saying, Alan. For some, 1,800 might just be, for one bill, right? And then you have food, and then you have, you have children, maybe you have to buy other stuff. So the truth is that not many have, money saved up to fork over $2,000 or whatever the tax bill is going to be this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also know that something that people should have thought about this ahead of time. However, once again, it's unreasonable to expect someone who lives paycheck to paycheck to have some money saved up for this kind of like situation. So if we're going to be fair, if we're going to make the argument of planning ahead, right, then it should also apply to the government. Like Alan was saying, they dropped the ball, right? This little tiny crucial detail slipped through the cracks, and now we have yet another issue that is going to plague millions of Americans. And I say that because, and I say that just assuming, because I don't know what the current situation is for like the EDD departments of other states. Maybe they did a better job at looking, into the future and asking individuals if they wanted that portion of the money tax. I'm not too sure. But as far as I know, it's going to plague millions of Americans. So my intuition tells me that all this, in a sense, is kind of unintentional. Congress acted as fast as possible to send out, aid to people, and unfortunately, they just missed this part. So now the big question is: should the government forgive these taxes owed?
Gio, what do you think?
Well, from reading the article, there was a part where he mentioned that the guy had checked the correct box to have the taxes sent out, right, from his paycheck.
Right.
So it was either a glitch, right? Or, yeah, I would agree with you. I think it was an accident, but it was like it's a fucked up accident, right? But the government, so at the bureaucracy and the government at the federal level, like, it's pretty much just a machine, right? And there's people behind it, but like once the laws are in place or the mechanisms are in place, they just mechanically go about their way until you like it goes to the final conclusion. And in that case, like, people are just like destroyed by it, right? Or like really hurt by it. And it's not going to care any more than the people in power are going to care, right? And negligence like this will probably not be like it like we can fix it, but these things are left out and not like properly addressed because this guy is probably like a nobody, right? And like he has a little bit of money, but if this were to happen to somebody really powerful, then immediately you would have like, a reaction from the government, right? So yeah, like the government from everything I've seen, does not really care about like the average working person or the poor class. It's all about the donors. It's all about the upper class, and you can look at studies that have shown that the majority of laws that are passed tend to benefit the upper classes, and so then the fact that something happens like this, like, and then not much is done about it is not surprising.
Christian.
Yeah, I think that given that this is all happening in the middle of a pandemic, that there should have been legislation in place that should have basically waived the taxes owed for people that desperately need this money, that are living paycheck to paycheck. Where, like you guys have said, chances are it would have gone straight to rent and food and like the essentials, you know? And given that how many billions of dollars we spent on military and on weapons, they could have tribbled off a little bit of fat off of the military budget and move this towards helping the everyday American or the people that desperately need this assistance. And yeah, I mean, it's just wrong to give some like there's an old saying from a comedian that I used to follow. You know, $20 is a lot when you got a five in your wallet, and I think we all have felt that in one form or another. You know, like we are all, you know, working class folks, and we've been there when the paycheck is late, or if, you know, do I call out sick or do I go into work anyway because I desperately need to have a full paycheck at the end of the month. You know, so especially, you know, like I said, when you compound this with the pandemic, they should have seen this coming. This should have been like a if and type of scenario. Like if this happens, then we should just, you know, forgive the taxes that these people are being asked to pay.
Yeah, and you know, I actually have like a personal story that kind of relates to this, and it just kind of just shows like the cold hand of Uncle Sam, right? Like when like an error happens on the government side, like, or you know, on the institution side, like they never fucking cop to it, right? Like they never try to make it right. It's just like, oh well, like that's what happened. What happened to me was like at one point, I was never one to get you know, to file for unemployment, right? I just always like was job to job, but there was like, I think Hector, it was around the time where you had to get how to work for McDonald's. I think I was just unemployed and I was collecting unemployment, and what's it called? They oversighted how much I was supposed to get, but I didn't know that, right? So you know, I was just getting benefits, and then eventually I found a job and I started working, so I stopped getting benefits. And then, you know, the IRS hits me up and they're like, yo, we oversighted what we were supposed to give you for all that time we were giving you unemployment. You owe us 10 grand. So I had to go, you know, to a building, a public building, like I forgot, like an IRS building. They recorded an interview with me and I guess somebody that works for the IRS, and you know, they were asking me all these questions, and I was like, yeah, like I didn't knowingly know that I was getting more than I was supposed to get, you know. So after, like, you know, they reviewed the case and everything, and they were like, yeah, you're gonna have to owe us that money. So like I've been paying them like slowly for years now, like for that 10 grand, you know. And it's just because something that I think that I it wasn't my fault. They oversighted, they didn't correct it. I wasn't gonna correct it because, you know, I guess I didn't. I mean, I guess I should have maybe double checked, but you know, for them to straight up be like, yeah, you owe us 10 grand for that. Yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, they're unforgiving motherfuckers, dude. Like that's really how it is. And for them to do that to people during the pandemic, not surprising, but it's fucking sad at the same time, right?
Hey, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Was the Asian interviewing you happen to be Ronald McDonald?
Ronald
Was
McDonald.
was he wearing a yellow jumpsuit and had red hair?
He came in with some fries though, and he offered them to me.
He's like, now you want these fries, don't you, Mr. Garcia?
Mm-hmm. What do I have to do for them? You gotta say that we fucked.
These
That you
are
fucked up.
$10,000 fries.
I'll take them. Fuck it. I'm paying. I'm still paying for those fries to this day. So yeah. Speaking of taxes, we can go ahead and get into El El Donald. So apparently, the prosecutors in New York are at got his taxes. They requested his taxes, and now apparently they have his taxes, and they're looking over them, and they're gonna see if they find anything incriminating. As far as me and my opinion about this, I don't think that anything is gonna come of it, just because they don't want to set a precedent where they can lock up a former POTUS, right? So it's never happened before. I don't think it will ever happen. But maybe Donald Trump, since he's so good at being the first at doing shit, maybe he'll be the first guy to get locked up after being president. Chris, so what do you think? Do you think we should send him to jail first?
He should definitely have gone to jail for inciting freaking insurrection on January 6th. But because nothing happened, nothing came of the insurrection that he incited. Nothing's going to happen with him lying on his tax return. Whether the money came, who knows what's on there? It could be anything. It could even be nothing. But the fact remains is that this guy owns property. Even though he's no longer in office, he still has power and influence. And we may talk about that later, how much influence he still wields to conservatives and Republicans to this day, even though he's so toxic. I don't think anything's going to happen, man. I think he's going to just live the rest of his life doing what he always has done.
Gio?
Yeah. Let's not forget that the New York Times had obtained Donald Trump's. I don't know if they obtained his actual tax records, but they obtained some kind of information back a couple of months ago when it was reported. And they revealed that he was struggling with like properties. Some properties were like struggling, vast write-offs, and hundreds of millions in debt that he was in. So it just goes to show that. So he fronts as a billionaire, right, and a really successful billionaire. It goes to show that he's a total fraud, and the fact that people believe in him and that believe that he's like a really successful billionaire and businessman goes to show that sometimes it's more about the charisma that somebody has than the actual facts, and his ability to front that fake persona is kind of what has gotten us here.
Yeah. I just want to comment on the whole, being exposed as being, a fake successful individual. I want to call out the people that argued for Donald Trump as president because he was a businessman. They're like, oh, he's going to manage the country like he does his business. And I always say, well, if I want someone to manage the country like a successful businessman, I want the best successful businessman, not this chump. Anyways, that's my little rant. Yeah, so I don't think nothing is going to come of it. If anything, is going to be like a slap on the wrist, or whatever discrepancies they find, in his taxes or on his taxes. He's not. I said this before. He's not dumb. Like sorry, he's not dumb in the sense that like he understands really well that if he was doing something wrong, he will have a way to get out of it. So if he is hiding something, I'm sure he has like receipts, just to prove that, everything is good. I forgot to carry the 2. I added an extra 0 in the back. My bad. Right. So they were just going to be like, okay, no problem. It's just too hopeful to think that, he's going to go to jail, even though he deserves to be there for other reasons, right? It was just like OJ, right? He ended up inevitably going to jail, but not because of what we all thought he did. It was because he kidnapped someone because he said that he had his, he had all his stuff, right? In Vegas, was it in Vegas? Something like that, right? He got caught up, right? So he held someone hostage and he ended up going to prison, I think, for that for a couple of years. So again, karma is supposed to catch up with this guy. Maybe it won't, but I mean, there's too hopeful to think that something's going to happen. But yeah.
Do you think that they'll like kind of air out all of like his debt and all that stuff, like kind of like line by line, and just see really how horrible this dude is with like his money and all this stuff that he's doing, and like will it flip anybody at the very least? You know.
I will hope that it would flip some people, at least the idea that he is like a successful businessman, and I think it would just show how little character and integrity the guy has. You don't have to be a mind reader to just sense that this guy is a big liar. And he will say and do anything to manipulate people into, thinking a certain way or doing a certain thing, right? Or maybe like, was it Gio? Were you saying that he'll use his power, right? Yeah, he still is, a person in power, so he'll use his power, to get his means or to get to the end that he's looking for. But I think it's just important to have it out there, man. Because we live in a society now where the internet is at scale. I've said this before, and more we find out more about people, right? It's not so that we could call them out on it, but it's just to have the information in front of us, just in case you need it.
Yeah, I agree. And even now, I think I read a story not too long ago that a guy that donated a bunch of money to him for the investigation of Stop the Steal, he's suing him now for his money back because he's seeing that it was all garbage. So I'm hoping that at the very least they will air it all out, and the people who at least use the argument that he was a good businessman now have it laid out to be like, oh, damn, well, I guess he wasn't. And then maybe that little, instance could then snowball them to think that, oh, well, damn, maybe he was lying about that. Maybe he's been lying about fucking everything, right? Shit, if we could get a couple people, fuck it. I think that's the best it'll do. But, man, this guy's gotten away with fucking everything so far, right? So it makes no sense to that they'll start putting him in cuffs now. So speaking of his stupid ass, he was at CPAC, and this is just this huge convention of all the Republicans that are stupid as fuck, like Ted Cruz, who did more stupid shit, which like we all know, we love shitting on Ted Cruz here. They've been shitting on him on Saturday Night Live every fucking weekend. So the guy's just a dumbass, right? He's just like run of the mill fucking idiot, right? I don't understand how people like that get positions in government, but yeah, he never lets you down. So Trump was at CPAC, and it kind of sounded like I don't know if you guys watched the speech that he made, but it sounded like he was hinting at running in 2024. So I guess we're just gonna keep seeing him do these rallies and these speeches, and until he can't go anymore. He's not gonna be able to let go of the Republican Party and all these fans that he has now. I think that he's just as addicted to them as they are addicted to him. It's this weird fucking romance that they have of fucking toxicity. Chris, you were actually the one who sent me the article that they used a symbol that was popular back in that the Nazis use. And I was having this conversation with Gio, and Gio thinks that it's just a oopsie. Right? It was just a little government oopsie. We didn't mean to use a Nazi symbol for a CPAC as the stage, even though it probably had to get approved by a shitload of people before it got there. So yeah, I don't fucking believe in oopsies, Gio. So this is the first discussion that we're gonna have where I don't think we're gonna agree. This is shit that they do, man. Like, they put these fucking symbols in all these places, and all of a sudden you figure them out and you're like, oh man, this is some racist ass shit. We're like, oh, it's just an oopsie. I don't think so. Gio, talk to me.
Well, I wasn't saying that it was an oopsie or one way or another, right? Like CPAC is terrible, right? That entire conservative movement like puts horrible policies out. So we don't have to agree that there might be Nazis within the group to say that the organization is a terrible organization. But what I was saying is that there's no way to prove one way or another. Right, like it's just speculation at this point. But if there are Nazis and they did design the stage to look like that Nazi symbol, I would not be surprised.
Chris, you're the one that sent me the article. What do you think?
I kind of like that oopsie theory, to be honest with you. But what I was also thinking, like, what if like these carpenters are getting paid, shit wages, and they're like, I'm gonna fuck over this CPAC convention. And I'm gonna build this stage like this. I doubt that's what it was. I think it's more intentional than that. But a part of me is like, what if like a really like badass group of carpenters were like, all right, motherfuckers, like we're gonna build the stage for you.
Like that was their V for Vendetta moment, and they're like, "We're gonna fuck you." They bombed it with a Nazi symbol.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
I was thinking, just I still can't believe that even like when we were growing up, like during the Bush years, and even post Bush years, we were able to talk about the Republican Party and the GOP in a way that was like, yeah, they're crazy, but we could have a beer with them, And now it doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like their party really did get co-opted by this guy, and it became a real, honest cult of personality with this guy who took over the GOP. And it's unfortunate that you have Republicans who are still on board with the political party brand that are trying to ride out this wave, but they're basically having to toe the party line. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's unfortunate that's happening to their party, but at the end of the day, they could have squashed it from day one. Trump gave them so many opportunities for them to ostracize the guy. Mm-hmm. But now here he is in 2021 talking about running again in a couple of years. And he'll be like probably the oldest candidate to run, I think, ever. Right? Yeah. He's going to be like the Jars from Futurama. like, I'm Donald Trump's head and I'm running for office again. So I think it's pretty bad.
Hector, what say you?
Okay, so being 100% honest right now, I have no idea what the hell CPAC is. When you told me about this, I thought it was like a college basketball conference, like a new college basketball conference, a CPAC, Okay, yeah. So no idea what the hell it is. I'm interested to know what was the turnout of the event. They had people show up, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of people not wearing masks. Like it was funny. Like the people there to see were not wearing masks, but like the people backstage that were working and on the sound and all that shit, like they were wearing masks.
So, what kind of people were in this event? Like
it's all Republicans. Yes, politicians like Ted Cruz, Republicans.
Civilians, no.
I think there was there's
probably
Republicans supporters, right? Yeah. It's a mix of a bunch of them.
So what do you think?
The donors, and that kind of shit. Yeah.
Because I saw I saw Ted Cruz screaming at me, and I don't know why, but it seemed like it was a small event. I don't know if the stage looked really small. And I saw I kind of 10 people in the front. Maybe
Most of that is because of COVID, I guess, because they can't have a huge thing. But I mean, yeah, it probably was would have been a huger thing if it was.
Well, for being in a pandemic, I thought it was pretty big.
Yeah,
Like there were
was it? I don't
probably
remember
it
seeing
was,
the crowd.
yeah, there was a shot of all the way in the back, and there was probably several hundred people there. But it was like
Okay.
a medium sized like venue. It wasn't a stadium or anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so the whole like Nazi symbol, right? Here's my conspiracy. They know what it is, and they did it on purpose. Okay, and I want to say this. In the last podcast we talked about the fake snow, conspiracy, right? And I said like if people are able to have and hold that position, then it's all fair game. So I could hold this position as well without any facts, right? I could hold the position of thinking that it was on purpose. And now I'm willing to bet my money, against someone who thinks it isn't. And I think I will win. So I think to have my position, it's not just based on, just like some crazy belief, right? It's based on intuition. Okay, and when we talk, all right. So, for example, when we talk about the idea of racism, right? Someone always says you can't prove that was racist. You can't prove that person was racist. And I think that is very much true. I can't prove that someone is racist because I don't think that someone could be racist. What do you call inherently racist? I think that people have racist acts and ideas and beliefs, and it just comes out. Right, or maybe it was an accident, and they just, it just comes out. So it's really hard to point at something and say like that's 100% intentional. Okay, even though I said it's 100% intentional, but if you think of that idea that like you could show that someone has racist intentions, right, without 100% actually proving it because of your intuition. So my intuition tells me this was on purpose, right? And the intention is there. So what's up, Gio? What you got?
Well, yeah, if we were to connect the dots and say that like the GOP has been super racist for forever, right? And especially now, it's even like approaching like white nationalism, right? Then you could come to the conclusion that that's exactly what it was. It was on purpose, and it's like a dog whistle to all the neo Nazis in the country that we're on board with you, and you're with us, and we're going to take over the country, right? We're going to come back, and the intuition would be sound, But my only argument is that it's not provable, right? And so then we can't say one way or another for sure. And I could take, and I don't have a position on it really. Like I don't know if it was true or not. If it is true that they purposely built it that way, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised because we already know that these people are terrible. So that's my position. That is, I have no position because I don't have enough evidence for it.
Boo.
It's
No
just
Speaking like
position having
speaking like a
ass.
true man of science. Speaking like a true scientist. I love it.
I like it. All right, we're gonna get into something that I think foreign policy is probably like the least that I know about. I don't really get into that much. The only thing I will say is obviously, since well, you guys know my position on a lot of stuff. I'm super anti-war and anti-bombing small countries, countries that are a lot smaller than ours. I hate the fact that we spend more money on our military than anything else. While we have schools that are, that are suffering, teachers that can't get enough pay, all that. While all that is going on, while pandemic is going on, somehow we're still able to spend trillions of dollars on military shit. So with that being said, Joe Biden, I guess, okayed the bombing of Syria. Let me kick it over to Gio. You probably know more about this than I do for sure. What do you think?
Yeah, so the administration is claiming that Iranian-backed militias in Syria attacked government troops or U.S. troops in Iraq. right? And the bombing of those civilians, or not civilians, but that supposed militia was in retaliation for that. That the United States bombed this group and killed like a bunch of civilians, apparently. So Syria has been in a civil war since 2011, right? During the Arab Spring is when that started. And it's killed 500,000 people since then. And the U.S., Russia, Israel, and all the countries have been bombing the place since at least 2015. They say it was retaliation for the killing of troops in Iraq, but we probably shouldn't even be in Iraq to begin with, right? We invaded Iraq in 2003 illegally on a fake pretense that they were collaborating with terrorists when that wasn't true at all. And it's also been a year since the Iraqi parliament voted to expel all U.S. troops from Iraq, and we still have troops there. And so I don't understand why, like, the whole like premise is a complete farce, right? There shouldn't be troops there to begin with, and we're killing more people to defend those troops. Like, it's just like a shit show now.
Sorry, it seems like every time there's like an attack of some kind, like we hear one thing and then it turns out being another. Like it's all fucking based on deception. Like why the fuck, there was an attack in the first place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and China has called for the respect of Syria's sovereignty and structure, like physical integrity. This goes back to what the military-industrial complex is represents for our country, right? Like the power that it wields in our country, with the politicians and the donations to campaigns, like I keep saying, but also the authorization for use of force, which was passed in 2002 after 9/11, so that the president can go after terrorists. That has been renewed every year since then, and has been abused by both Democratic and Republican presidents since then, and so that needs to be addressed too.
Chris, let's go to you. What do you think?
I mean, it's sort of what Gio said. We've been in the Middle East since 2003, and before that, we were in there during Desert Storm in the late 80s, early 90s. So it feels like we're constantly having Americans go into harm's way over a pretense of nothing. Why, like the fact that we were asked to leave Iraq over a year ago, and we were we were already starting to bring troops home during the Obama administration. We should have been done doing whatever it is we were trying to do to begin with, several years ago. Like that's just another family that's going to be devastated over the decisions that someone in a suit made. And this affects everybody. This affects the folks in Syria, the folks in Iraq, the people who were radicalized by ISIS and Iran, and it's just becoming like this huge. It's turning into like another proxy war between nations, and which is probably why we're still over there to begin with. But I mean, I've heard there have been a lot of like politicians say a lot of different things about intervention in war, but the only one that's actually said an end to all wars has been Bernie Sanders. Like Bernie Sanders has been saying this since the fucking 60s, that the U.S. military should not be used in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know. It's just ugly, man. I've never liked it, and I'm hoping that going into this new decade, we can finally start using diplomacy again, as opposed to just blowing the hell out of each other.
Yeah, and like, what I wanted to say too is, like you said, it affects that family, right? And just the people in Syria, and it affects a lot of people, and not only that, but people here don't like it, right? So we got people over there disliking, what our government is doing. We got people here disliking what our government is doing, and for some reason they just don't stop, right? Hector, what do you think?
Yeah, so I want to first and foremost start by calling out the media for misleading titles for their articles and videos, because most of the articles and videos titles that I saw said something along the lines of like the U.S. bombed Syria. right? So it doesn't exactly give the details within that, right? Because the U.S., although dropped bombs within Syria, as Gio was saying, it was because we, I guess the Pentagon or the U.S. thought that there were Iranian-backed militias within that area, right? And I think I read that also the U.S. got permission from Syria before dropping the bombs. Correct, Gio? Anybody?
I heard that Russia got warned a couple of minutes beforehand. I don't know if Syria got warned. Maybe that's true.
Okay. But yeah, going back to the media, right? Misleading titles. I think they should do better at that, because I know that most people just don't go on and read the full article. They just see the title and say, "Word, we bombed Syria."
I mean,
No
but
way.
like permission or not, like if civilians are being like put in harm's way, like this is something that shouldn't be happening, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I don't give a fuck like who gave permission. Like if there's people, there's civilians that are being bombed, like, and it's like, oh well, like we were trying to get bad guys, but we missed, or we got the bad guys, but we also got the apartment building next to them.
Mhm.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah, and the
Right.
Syrian government itself is not a beacon of human rights either, right? It has multiple years of abuse against its people.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and my second call out would be Joe Biden himself, Joe Weak Sauce Biden, who has received that title from us
Weak sauce.
until he does better. I know that in 2002 he was one of the senators that voted for Bush to go into Iraq.
Absolutely.
So this is not a complete surprise, and for anyone that thinks it is, it shouldn't be. If you look at the history,
He's on
so yeah,
par.
so it's kind of counterintuitive to think that, or to believe that the Democrats are against war, or anti-war, or keeping the troops in the Middle East, when they talk so much about bringing them back. And I've heard this so many times. We're going to bring back the troops. We're going to bring back the troops. We're going to bring back the troops. It just never happens. Yeah, those are just my two call-outs. In terms of my position is no war, man. Like why even, like, first of all, like if you just look at the logic behind all this, right? Or if you look at the sequence of events, right? Like if we didn't have any troops stationed in the Middle East, then there would be nowhere to strike, right? Like you wouldn't have the Iranian backed militia striking any of the American troops. So it's just a big circle. It's just a mess, right? It's kind of like you could point back and be like, it's actually our fault if you look at it in that sense.
Yeah, because I mean, you have two factions fighting, right? Or factions fighting, and then you throw in the U.S. military. Like, how does that make any sense, right? Like, the situation in a lot of those countries is far more complicated than just, hey, these guys are bad and these guys are okay. Like,
Yeah.
there's factions all over that place, right? And they all have different interests and different just different goals, and they're all down to fire shots. And so to throw our military into all that mess, like, it just never made sense to me, for sure. And yeah, it's unfortunate that Biden, I guess, still hasn't learned from because he got a lot of flack, right, for being that guy that voted for the war back then. So for him to not recognize that this is something that the people didn't like of him and were weary of it happening again, he's just proving them right. So everyone now knows that, right, he's not going to change his ways when it comes to the military, when it comes to war. He's just going to get the same old warmonger Biden.
What about Ted Cruz? Freedom! Why are you screaming at me, bro?
I don't get it, man. Ted Cruz is maybe he just knows he's on the way out, and he's kind of like like when you're almost about to quit your job and you're just fucking off like the hardest you can. I think that's what he's doing, man. I think he knows that he's not gonna get reelected. He's probably not even gonna try. I would be surprised if he tries. He should just probably just hang out and see who takes his spot for But if he gets reelected, oh my god, dude! Honestly, then I don't know what to tell you. We're gonna have a lot of more funny content, I guess. I don't know. Content is always good, and we definitely appreciate you being our first guest on the discussion lounge. Everybody, give it up to Mr. Cristian Markovich from the
Yes,
city
sir.
of Cudahy, and to the awesome co-hosts Hector and Gio. Always insightful, always hilarious, always super smart with the hot takes, as they like to say. So yeah, man, this has been another episode. We thank you guys for watching. We appreciate everybody who's been watching. Subscribe and like if you want, or don't. Fuck it, we're not trying to monetize. So this is us all for fun. No ads. We're all good. We're just doing this just to shoot the shit. So, man, if you like it, like. If you subscribe. If you don't, tell somebody. If you don't want to tell nobody, then fuck out of here. Don't watch this shit. But yeah, thank you guys. We appreciate it, and we out.